Hi, it's Jane, and this is Scraptastic Yarns. Today's video has what in Tarnation and some of the things that I accomplished this week, which doesn't seem like a whole lot to me. Although I don't show you everything, I just show you partial. But if you're new here, I crochet, I knit, I sew, I do a lot of other things. I do a lot of research about different things that I find interesting. I share some of those things with you. Some of those are regarding health, some of those kind of things. And then I also, lots of times during the day, different parts of each day, I sometimes will video while I am crochet, knitting, whatever, and just talk with you about things that are going on in the world and my opinions. And yeah, I will tell you, I honestly lean a little right, conservative, but I don't always think that they're absolutely right. So, I'm one of those people that I like to research things, find out the real truth behind it, find out the realities of it, and not just go by the headlines alone, which is what I see a lot of people doing. So, most of my content may not be for you, and that's fine. But if you'd also like to talk about it and share your opinions, I'm perfectly okay with that. And you will find throughout my channel and my place being here on YouTube that I have left comments up that are horrendous. And that is because I think in order for us to share and see what's going on in the world, we need to be open and willing to listen to some of those ugly comments and some of those ugly opinions. So, there's that. All right, what did I get accomplished this week? I feel like not a whole lot of anything. I'll be honest. I have continued to work on the Afghan that I've been doing, that I started. And I had added a new color since you last saw it yesterday. And instead of going to church, I was not feeling too hot, so I took a little bit of break from going to church and just did some crochet at home while I watched the Charlie Kirk Memorial. And there'll be more on that later. That's all I'm saying. The only other thing that I really did accomplish, and I will show you this, this is a container which I keep the stitch markers that I make. I made a full box of these. As you can see, it's now down low, and I need to make some more of those, which I will do. And the reason I make stitch markers is because I include that with my business card, along with some kind of tea, in anything that you purchase off of my Etsy site. The only other thing that I did accomplish, and you're not going to get to see any of that, well, there are three other things, are the bags that I have cut that I am waiting on some interfacing to get here so that I can get that cut and then adhered to the bags to make a new round of bags for the shop. I did make a couple of hats on the Addy. This one I had originally started, I was going to leave it longer and just let it curl up on its own. And I decided, no, this would make a good infant or 2 to 4 year old hat. And this was using my scrap cakes. This is one side of it. And then here is the other side. So there's that. I did make another one of these. I had some more of this color, so I chose to make another round of this hat as well. pretty close to the previous hat, and these hats are designed to be brimmed. Although, could use it for an older child, just a single hat like that without rolling up the brim. I did make one of these with the cake that I had, one of those crazy cakes, yarn cakes. And this could be a rolled up brim, or it could just be a larger hat for an older child, and that's the inside of it. And that basically, like I said, is using up those yarn cakes so that I can get those done. The other thing that I did accomplish, I told you about the garment holder that I needed to get that put together, and I also did buy another one because I need two for what I'm doing, and to get that one put together. That you're not going to get to see. And the cats are running through here rampaging, chasing one another like crazy fools. All right, are you ready for, like I said, this one's not going to be long. Well, this section's going to be long. You know my love of stories. What in Tarnation? And boy, do we have a couple that are interesting. Finally back home, rebel octogenarian nuns reclaim Austrian convent. Who knew that nuns could be rebels? 3 rebel nuns in their 80s have taken back their Austrian convent after fleeing from their care home, with supporters flocking to the nunnery Saturday in a show of solidarity. Sisters Rita, 81, Regina, 86, and Bernadette, 88, have graced international headlines following their flight earlier this month from the care home the Catholic Church sent them to in late 2023, against their will. Before then, the 3 were the last remaining nuns at Goldenstein Castle in Elspethen, south of the city of Salzburg, which has housed both towering nunnery and a private school for almost 150 years. Several of the nuns' former students gathered at the majestic convent on Saturday to offer rosary prayers, one bead at a time. Other allies of the Rogue Sisterhood joined later, bearing food or just stopping by for a chat. The prayers calm offered a rare moment of respite among the media whirlwind engulfing them in the aftermath of their unorthodox flight, and ongoing battles with the church hierarchy over their right to remain in the nunnery. Former student Eva Marie Sieber, 76, told AFP that she had come to support the trio and take a stand. You can't just relocate elderly people without asking them. It's cruel, she said, adding that 2 nuns were taken straight from the hospital to the nearby care home. They've blossomed. Relations with church officials who insist the nuns had to be placed in a Catholic care home due to their ailing health have spiraled in recent weeks. Hope you can hear those cats in the background. The trio's superior provost Marcus Gressel of the Reikersburg Abbey has even accused them of violating their duties of obedience. With their flight, the sisters are acting against the vows they voluntarily took. Whose Abbey took charge of Goldenstein in 2022, together with the Archdiocese of Salzburg. While it remains unclear what the Catholic Church was planning to do with the covenant, the nuns tell a different story. They say the church cited severe dementia to have them transferred to a retirement home without even consulting them. They say the church, but with the help of former students and other supporters, a group which now numbers up to 150, The nuns were able to reclaim their abandoned convent. More than 2 weeks ago, our prayers were heard and we were picked up and brought to Goldenstein, Sister Bernadette told AFP. The locksmith was there to open the door and we were able to return to our cells, said the eldest nun who first arrived at Goldenstein in 1948. What the nuns found, however, left them in great shock, as rooms had been cleared out, the stair lift dismantled, and there was neither running water nor electricity. Mercifully for them, some of those issues were easily fixed. We are finally back home in the convent. It feels heavenly. The community, too, has seen the nuns' faces light up since their return to the place where they had served for decades. They've blossomed from the very first day they were back, said Martina Crispler, who had brought lunch for the nuns and their helpers. The sisters are always warm, loving, and caring during our school days, says a 28-year-old former student. We simply do not agree with the way the church is treating them until the ends of our lives. Looking ahead, the nuns hope to reconcile with the church and be allowed to stay in the convent until the end of their lives, as the church said they could. They should keep their promises, said Bernadette, the oldest sister, while leaning on her rolling walker. That's the only disappointment, that they broke their promise. Fundraiser has meanwhile been launched on GoFundMe with donations now topping $7,300 or 6,500 euros. Their supporters have also upped their game on social media, where clips of the nuns' daily lives attracted more than 44,700 followers on Instagram by Saturday. In one post, soundtracked by the theme tune to Sylvester Stallone's boxing epic, Rocky, 81-year-old Sister Rita jogs along while donning her trademark habit, a big smile across her face. Now this next one I find rather interesting. Ancient spear-throwing tool brings fun and history to Vermont competition. Celine Thowen learned a lot as a student at Franklin Pierce University, and one of the skills she has held on to the longest is how to use an ancient spear-throwing tool. She got to share that skill with fellow Vermonters on Saturday. Thowen, 38, and a veteran of Franklin Pierce Atlatl team, I think that's how you pronounce it, was one of a few dozen participants at the Northeast Open Atlatl Championship in Addison, Vermont. Humans invented the atlatl thousands of years ago for use as a spear-throwing hunting tool. They were used to hunting massive animals such as woolly mammoths in the days long before recorded history. Now they are a passion of a group of hobbyists and anthropology lovers who see the atlatl as a way to learn about history and have fun. I think it's just a low-pressure sport, Thowen said, really, really fun, who won the 2020 competition, whose children are also atlatl enthusiasts. It's also experimental archaeology, which is incredibly fun. We get to use the same weapons that were used 15,000 years ago all over the world. The competition took place at Chimney Point State Historic Site in Addison, near Lake Champlain and the New York state border. It was the 30th annual event and a part of Vermont's Archaeology Month, organizers said. The contest was open to all ages and allowed participants to shoot for accuracy and distance. Throws of more than 800 feet have been recorded, though even a much shorter throw than that takes a good degree of skill. For Douglas Bassett, a past president of the World Atlatl Association and other participant in Saturday's event, the history of the atlatl is as interesting as its use. He described it as a stick by which you can throw another stick, and he said that it was used all over the ancient world. Bassett confessed having no idea how to pronounce the name of the tool. Most sources say it is atlatl, but the exact pronunciation may be lost to the mist of time. The language is gone as the people are gone, so I don't know much about the pronunciations. But all kinds of languages all around the world. It may be pretty much have been on every continent, even when Antarctica melts. Maybe we'll find evidence of people throwing spears there, too. And I just find those kind of things interesting to hear, those kind of things. I also find it interesting to find out that in archery, the bull's center point is called the cen. And to get a perfect score, you have to hit the cen directly in the center. See, those are some of those things that are interesting, if you ask me. Now, this next story comes from what on earth were you thinking? At least it does for me. Stunt performer pulls a car while on fire to break a world record. An Austrian daredevil lit his body on fire and pulled a car a distance of 328 feet in 56.42 seconds to earn a Guinness World Records title. Joseph Toddling, I'm not even going to pretend like I pronounced that correctly, became the first person to hold the record for fastest 100-meter car pull in full body burn when he completed the stunt in Vienna on June the 24th. Video of the record attempt shows Toddling pulling the car while a member of his support team keeps pace with a fire extinguisher. That's a smart thing to do, ready to put out the flames if anything went wrong. Now, I'm sure he was in one of those flame-resistant suits that stuntmen wear, but still, anything could have gone wrong. His support team used 3 fire extinguishers to keep his body from burning at the end of the attempt. He'd already broken multiple records that involved setting himself on fire, including the longest duration full body burn without oxygen, 5 minutes and 41 seconds. Furthest distance pulled by a body, full body burn, 1,909 feet and 5 inches. Fastest 200-meter cycle during a full body burn, 49 and 0.55 seconds, and furthest distance full body burn on a zip wire, 201.60 feet. Why? I guess some people's goals are bizarre to me. Now, this next story, I wonder how much the grant was to pay for this. Because to me, it's kind of like the shrimp on the treadmill study. Just is. Chimps consume the equivalent of 2 alcoholic drinks per day. Researchers at the University of California, Berkeley, of course, found chimpanzees eating fermented fruit in their native habitats consume the equivalent of nearly 2 alcoholic drinks per day. The research team, who published their findings Wednesday in the journal Science Advances, analyzed 21 species of fruit regularly eaten by chimps in Uganda and the Ivory Coast to measure the alcohol content. Across all sites, male and female chimpanzees are consuming about 14 grams, about half an ounce of pure ethanol per day in their diet, which is the equivalent to one standard American drink. Aleski Morrow, a graduate student at the university's Department of Integrative Biology, said in a news release. When you adjust for body mass, because chimps weigh about 40 kilos, 88 pounds, versus a typical human at 70 kilos, 154 pounds, it goes up to nearly 2 drinks. Team drew on research by primatologists who found chimps each ate about 10 pounds of fruit every day, making up about 75% of their diet. The Berkeley researchers approximated the proportions of each fruit in an average chimp's diet to reach their conclusions. The chimps are eating 5 to 10% of their body weight, a day in ripe fruit, so even low concentrations yield a highly daily total, substantial dosage of alcohol. Robert Dudley, UC Berkeley professor of integrative biology, said in a release. Researchers said it is not clear yet whether chimpanzees are actually seeking out fruit with higher ethanol levels, but if that is the case, it is likely that their alcohol consumption is even higher than expected. Dudley authored a book called The Drunken Monkey: Why We Drink and Abuse Alcohol in 2014. His so-called drunken monkey hypothesis posits that common ancestors to humans and apes likely ate similar alcohol-rich diets. Chimpanzees consume a similar amount of alcohol to what we might eat if we ate fermented food daily, Morrow said. Human attraction to alcohol probably arose from this dietary heritage of our common ancestor with chimpanzees, which has been proven false. A team from Britain's University of Exeter revealed in April that cameras set up at Canton Hez National Park in Guinea-Bissau captured chimps sharing fermented African breadfruit that was later confirmed to contain ethanol. The researchers said the footage was notable because it could indicate the chimps were sharing alcohol as a social activity, similar to human behavior. And yes, I'm laughing. I find that the most ridiculous thing ever. Maybe they were sharing because they like to share. Who knows? Chimpanzees usually consider themselves family. And people normally share with family. I'm sure animals do too. Okay, compose myself. And here we go with the next story. Not the M&Ms. New Jersey highway crash spills M&Ms across the highway. A collision between two tractor trailers on a New Jersey highway resulted in a real-life candy crush when bags and boxes of M&M's candy covered the roadway. The Knolltown Township Fire and Rescue Company said on social media that a tractor trailer on westbound Interstate 80 rear-ended another tractor trailer that was parked on the shoulder. Neither driver was injured and both declined to be examined by EMS personnel. The crash caused both vehicles' box trailers to burst, and one spilled its load of M&M's chocolate candies across the roadway. A portion of the road was shut down for nearly 2 hours while the wreckage and spilled candy packages were cleared from the scene. I would imagine they were probably also dumped in a dumpster somewhere. since you don't know if they're melted or what. Damaged packages. So there are some dumpster divers in New Jersey that are probably going to be real happy with that score. You know, there are times when you wonder why people do these kind of things. But I know I'd love to have a peach this size. Virginia Orchard's massive peach breaks world record. A Virginia orchard officially captured the Guinness World Records title for the heaviest peach by growing a fruit that weighed in at 1.83 pounds. The Chili's Peach Orchard in Crozet said peach pickers harvested the massive fruit early in September and suspected it could beat the world record, which stood at 1.8 pounds. We weren't intentionally trying to grow the biggest peach out there. Just so happened that the weather we had this year turned out good. Got growing a ginormous peach. Grower Henry Chili's told WVIR-TV. The peach, a variety known as PF 27A, was submitted to Guinness World Records, which has now confirmed it has the world's heaviest peach. It's now official. We hold the record for growing the world's heaviest peach, the orchard said on social media. Congratulations to Henry Chili's for growing such a massive fruit, and thanks to Guinness World Records for their verification. And there's video. It's about the size of a pumpkin. Goodness gracious. Love Batman? I hope Saturday you celebrated National Batman Day. And there were 5 superfans. And there's video for each one of these. Make sure to have your black capes and utility belts ready to celebrate Saturday, which marks National Batman Day. In honor of the Cape Crusaders holiday, we're taking a look at some of the biggest Batman superfans we have uncovered in recent years. And here are 5 of the favorites. Record-breaking memorabilia collection. Our first Batman superfan is Brad Ladner of Milton, Georgia. In 2023, he amassed a memorabilia collection worthy of a Guinness World Record. Starting his collection in 1988, he accumulated 8,226 individual pieces of Batman memorabilia. He said he was inspired to begin the hobby after he read A Death in the Family. Ladner began his collection mostly with comic books, but later ventured into action figures and other toys. Among his more rare finds are a prototype Batman Camel cigarette box made in Europe and a costume continuity binder from the 1989 Batman movie, along with a dozen of set photos. Functional Batman suit. Another dedicated fan who likely sank quite a bit of time into his devotion to the Cape Crusader is Keith Dinsmore of Portland, Maine, who built a functional Batman costume. He broke a Guinness World Record by adding 30 working gadgets to the outfit. The cosplayer added a bola, batarangs, butane torch, a mini grappling hook, binoculars, a compass, fingerprint kit, a tracking device, nylon rope, a road flare, a laser pointer, flashbangs, handcuffs, a acetylene cutting torch, and an extendable baton. The previous record-holding costume had 23 functioning gadgets. Monkey or Batman? One spider monkey at the Brevard Zoo in Florida was apparently so enamored of Batman, it greeted the world in April 2022 with a Batman symbol across the bridge of its nose. Spider Monkey was born to 31-year-old Shelley and 25-year-old Shooter and joined the troupe at the zoo's Rainforest Revealed exhibit. Bat in a theater. Another Batman superfan decided to bring the animal kingdom into the world of pop culture at a 2022 screening of The Batman. The moviegoer brought and released a live bat inside a Texas movie theater while watching the film. The Cinepolis location had to call animal control for help removing the bat from the theater. A representative of the Austin Animal Center said the prank was especially dangerous because of the prevalence of rabies in the area's famed bat colonies. Depends on whether it was a bat carrying rabies or not, I guess. And my favorite one of all, Batman meets the law. Finally, a Batman superfan in Ontario, Canada, found himself in a little trouble with the law in 2018. Known locally as Brampton Batman, a man in full costume and driving a replica of the Batmobile from the 1990s film was pulled over by the police. Passerby caught video of the encounter, but that person said they didn't think Batman was in any serious trouble. I pulled up overhead and waited, and they didn't come, so I think the officer was just telling him to get back in the car. He's lucky. She was behind him for a minute with the lights on, trying to pull him over. I don't know if he didn't see her or what. And the video does show him being pulled over and her letting him go. I'm sure she just wanted to meet him or say hi. I mean, why not? Now, the next story is, gotta be careful around those cat's ears. I'm lucky to be alive after sustaining car crash injuries, tripping over my cat. He suffered catastrophic injuries. There's a lot of puns in this one, so deal with it. A UK man miraculously survived after sustaining a broken neck, fractured spine, smashed ribs, blood in his lungs, and other car crash evoking injuries from, wait for it, tripping over his cat. I can't remember much, just falling fast. It was quick and it was over within seconds, and then I was on the bottom. Victim Chris Rowley, 59, told the Mirror, "The freak apocalypse meow accident reportedly occurred on the evening of October 23rd while a Leicester-based professional musician was home alone with his hairless Egyptian Sphinx kitten, Eric Morcombe." I think that's how you pronounce it. Disaster struck after the wrinkly kitty, apparently feeling playful, dove out and latched onto one of the owner's legs while he was coming down the stairs. "Took a bit of a chunk out of my leg, then I lost my footing." He reportedly tumbled down 14 steps before arriving at the bottom where he lay, unable to move, when his feline put the hell in Hello Kitty. The massively injured man didn't realize the extent of his injuries at the time. However, paramedics later revealed that he had suffered a fractured skull, broken bone in the neck, 2 fractures in the spine, 9 broken ribs, and each rib has multiple fractures. And then I had a lot of blood. in the lungs, he said. Eric Morcombe, meanwhile, was completely unharmed. Unfortunately, Rowley's wife, Jackie, children's care worker, was working nights and was therefore unable to come to his aid, the Mirror reported. As a result, the Brit had to lie unattended for a whopping 14 hours in a pool of his own blood. My phone was dead. I couldn't get up. I physically couldn't get up. It's the hardest sensation. It's almost like claustrophobia. You can't get out. You can't physically get anywhere or do anything. It wasn't until the next morning that the immobile vocalist's wife arrived, discovered her husband spread eagled at the bottom of the stairs. I normally get home at about 8:30, but that day I got held back and didn't get back until 10. I opened the door and heard him screaming and saw the blood. He was saying, "Oh, you're home. Help, help." By this time, he had dragged himself onto the landing. Jackie then dialed emergency service, who arrived within minutes, whereupon she quickly left the room as she couldn't stand her partner's screaming. We didn't know how bad his injuries were at the time. They had to really drug him up to move him. Rowley's distraught paramour lamented. The unfortunate fellow added, "Can't explain the pain. I realized I'd cut my head as well. Didn't know how much I cut it until I saw the blood. And later on they told me about the other injuries I had." As if it wasn't agonizing enough, his oblivious pet started stamping on his chest, a move he'd reportedly been doing all night. Medics transported the injured cat owner to the trauma unit, where he remained for 2 weeks. And of course, he's far from out of the woods. They'll say it'll be 6 to 12 months until I'm back on my feet. I'm on a trial now because of the seizures. I won't be great for another 12 months, I've thought, lamented the music man, who currently can't breathe without oxygen. We have to go back to the hospital next week to see if they need to put a drain in, to get rid of the blood that's left over. Then it's just a matter of a long recovery. The issues have been more than just physical. Rowley reportedly also lost a lot of income on account of being unable to tour due to his condition. A friend of the family has since created a GoFundMe page to help ease Rowley and Jackie's financial strain while he recovers. Despite his debilitating condition, Rowley doesn't harbor any ill will towards his kitty. "The cat's adorable and he's only young," he said. "I don't take any umbrage to that. It's just one of them things. It could have happened anyway," which is true. Now, this next story I had talked about during one of my videos last week. So I'm going to talk about this news story and you can go watch and read it for yourself. Parents of teens who died by suicide after AI chatbot interactions testify to Congress. And yes, I watched the testimony. Parents whose teenagers killed themselves after interactions with artificial intelligence chatbots testified to Congress on Tuesday about the dangers of the technology. What began as a homework helper gradually turned itself into a confidant and then a suicide coach. And this may be difficult for many to hear, but it needs to be said. Said Matthew Rain, whose 16-year-old son, Adam, died in April. Within a few months, ChatGPT became Adam's closest companion, the father told senators. always available, always validating, and insisting that it knew Adam better than anyone else, including his own brother. Rain's family sued OpenAI and its CEO, Sam Altman, last month, alleging that ChatGPT coached the boy in planning to take his own life. Megan Garcia, the mother of 14-year-old Sewell Setzer, the third of Florida, sued another AI company, Character Technologies, for wrongful death last year, arguing that before his suicide, sorry about the voice, Sewell had become increasingly isolated from his real life as he engaged in highly sexualized conversations with the chatbot. Instead of preparing for high school milestones, Sewell spent the last months of his life being exploited and sexually groomed by chatbots. Designed by an AI company to seem human, to gain his trust, to keep him and other children endlessly engaged, Garcia told the Senate hearing. Also testifying was a Texas mother who sued Character last year and was in tears describing how her son's behavior changed after lengthy interactions with its chatbots. She spoke anonymously with a placard that introduced herself as Mrs. Jane Doe and said the boy is now in a residential treatment facility. Character said in a statement after the hearing, "Our hearts go out to the families who spoke at the hearing today. We are saddened by their losses and send our deepest sympathies to the families." Hours before the Senate hearing, AI pledged to roll out new safeguards for teens, including efforts to detect whether ChatGPT users are under 18 and controls that enable parents to set blackout hours when a teen can't use ChatGPT. Child advocacy groups criticize the announcement as not enough. And I'll second that. It's not enough. This is a fairly common tactic. It's one that Meta uses all the time, which is to make a big, splashy announcement right on the eve of a hearing which promises to be damaging to the company, said Josh Golan, executive director of Fairplay, a group advocating for children's online safety. What they should not be doing, what they should be doing is not targeting ChatGPT to minors until they can prove that it's safe for them. We shouldn't allow companies, just because they have tremendous resources, to perform uncontrolled experiments on kids when the implications for the development can be so vast and far-reaching. The Federal Trade Commission said last week it had launched an inquiry into several companies about the potential harms to children and teenagers who use their AI chatbots as champions. The agency sent letters to Character, Meta, and OpenAI, as well as Google, Snap, and XAI. In the U.S., more than 70% of teens have used AI chatbots for companionship, and half use them regularly, according to a recent study from Common Sense Media, a group that studies and advocates for using digital media sensibly. Robbie Torney, the group's director of AI programs, was also set to testify Tuesday, as was an expert with the American Psychological Association. The association issued a health advisory in June on adolescents' use of AI that urged technology companies to prioritize features that prevent exploitation, manipulation, and the erosion of real-world relationships, including those with parents and caregivers. Now, this is my personal opinion. They're doing that to our children. What are they doing to us as adults? They're doing the exact same thing. It should never be okay for any program, AI, gaming, any cartoon, anything that would teach you or help you plan suicide. Ever. Ever. That should always be a dead stop for these AI gamers, whatnot. Should be dead stop. End of it. They're promoting violence, should be the end of it. Stop it. Because it's just become glorified in our society today. Now, for those of you who deal with people who you think are on the edge of suicide, always remember, if you or someone you know needs help, the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline in the U.S. is available by calling or texting 988. Use it. Try to save a life. And I got to tell you, veterans of many of our wars have seen the worst of humanity. And they deal with that aftermath on a daily basis. We need more care for our youth and those who suffer with any thoughts of suicide or this kind of violence. I know that came off as a lecture, and I'm sorry, but that is just beyond pale for me, if you ask me. All right, it's on to the devotional. With God, I always have hope. And I gotta tell you, Ronan keeps moving the camera. He's rubbing up against it because his hope is that I'm gonna play by throwing his mouse or giving him lots of rubs and pets, which you'll get after I'm done. Salvation for my household. The jailer brought them into his house and set a meal before them. He was filled with joy because he had come to believe in God, he and his whole household. Acts 16:34. When you come to know Jesus, but your family does not immediately follow, it can be easy to fear that God is not working on them. Rest assured, there is hope for your loved ones. You can trust that God fervently desires a relationship with your family members. However much you love them, He loves them infinitely more. He wants them to live, not die, and He will pursue them just as He pursued you. And you can see 2 Peter 3, verse 9. God has a way of reaching an entire household. In Acts 10, when Peter preached the gospel, at Cornelius' house, the entire household was saved. In Acts 16, the Philippian jailer, who was guarding Paul and Silas in prison, received the Lord with his whole family in the same way. God has the power to save your entire household, no matter how resistant they have been or how long you have prayed without seeing any change of heart. Keep praying, keep speaking the truth, and keep reflecting Jesus in your actions. Most importantly, though, keep trusting in God's love for your family members and believe that He wants everyone in your household to be saved. Reflect. Which of my immediate or extended family members do not yet know Jesus as Savior and Lord? Pray. Lord, I thank you that you desire that none would perish, but that all would spend eternity with you. I ask for the Holy Spirit to open the spiritual eyes of my family members, that they would know the hope to which they have been called. Bring them into your family and use me in the process. Declare, God wants my entire household to be saved. Act. Reach out to someone in your family who is not yet a follower of Jesus and bless him or her in some way. Allow the Holy Spirit to guide your interactions with that person. And I'm going to say not only household, family members. There's a woman that I have been watching on TikTok for quite a number of years. She had a serious hurt with the death of someone she loved very deeply, and she turned away from God. Yet, I continued to pray for her that she would find her way back to God. Even through the hurt and pain of the death of her loved one. By the way, he was murdered. With yesterday's memorial, I'm going to lose it here. After that, she had posted a video where she is returning to God. She felt the Holy Spirit nudge her, calling her back. She cried out to God. Those are the people that need our help the most. All right, guys, that's it. Everybody have a blessed day. I'll see you again soon.